Hello, everyone. Just want to let you know we're going to get started in about 3 or 4 minutes. If you could find your seat, that would be much appreciated.
Ham Jumbo. Ham Jumbo. You say Hatu Jumbo. Thank you. Well, good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Whether you're one of the 100 people in the room or one of the many people who are joining us over Zoom from Canada and Africa and I believe Europe too. We're here to learn a little bit about life in Africa, particularly how women influence it. My name's Danny Stusser, and my only role here is to introduce all the other speakers. And I'd like to start by introducing our longtime board member, Kathleen O'Shaughnessy, who will be further introducing more speakers. Kathleen, are you ready to talk? Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Board members, staff members, donors, sponsors, supporters, Quakers, and many who are not Quaker. It's wonderful to see you all today. And I was asked by Connie Vasic, who is our board member, our chair of our board now at Friendly Water for the World, if I would speak a little bit to my personal journey and experience with Friendly Water, and I'm happy to do that. I've been involved with Friendly Water since its inception, which is in 2006. So I've been involved for a long time. And I've been a board member for the last, honestly, I'm not sure, I think maybe 8 or 10 years, quite a while anyway. And during that time, also time of my board membership, I had an opportunity to also visit Uganda and work over there. Friendly Water Board had a conference there for a week in Mityana, Uganda, and there were several of the people in this room were there in Uganda for this conference. And that's where our participants presented their materials on what they were doing with the biosand water filters. Those of you who are have some experience, some longevity with Friendly Water, know that we began with the biosand water filters. And this project was started with our Olympia monthly meeting. It's our Quaker meeting, a rather small group, but quite determined. And David Albert has been the chair of the board from the beginning until relatively recently, actually. And he's with us here today. Hi, David, in the back. And this project was begun by David and Dell and Suzanne Livingston. They are members of a Quaker church in Tacoma. So the three of them really kind of founded this through Quaker meeting, and it has grown dramatically since then. And we began with biosand water filters, and those are some of you know there may be some pictures. If you Google Friendly Water, you'll see this. And that was all we were doing at the beginning. I say all. It was actually quite a overwhelming project, but we've expanded dramatically since then to several other projects, probably 7 or 8 ongoing projects. Other people will speak to some of that later. But Connie asked me to talk about my journey, why I'm involved with Friendly Water, what my beginning was. Okay, sorry, this is better. All right. I was involved with Friendly Water from its inception, in part because I tend to think of what really matters. Some of you heard me say this, but I'm Quaker with a hint of Buddhism in there. So, and I do morning meditations, not every morning, but most mornings. And as part of that, I do morning gratitudes, but I also say what matters. Do at least one thing today that really matters. And I don't always make it, but more often than not, I think I do. At least I try to do one thing that really matters today, and one day, any day. And I've done this with Friendly Water is a very good place for me to put my energies and intentions and my money. I'm happy to support it as a donor, and I'm happy to encourage others of you to do the same. This is not a fundraiser dinner. This is a thank you and gratitude dinner for those of you who have been supportive of it, of Friendly Water. Is this better? Okay, I need I need a helper. Anyway, part of why it matters to me has to do with my Quakerism. And for those of you who know anything about Quakerism, we don't have credos or doctrines, but we do have something called testimonies. And the testimonies are the things that matter to me. And those testimonies are something called, the acronym would be SPICES: simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality, and stewardship. So those testimonies, if you aspire to them, at least, it's not easy. A friend here has a shirt that I sometimes wear saying, if you think being Quaker is easy, you must not be doing it right. So there's a bit of truth in that, I suppose. But those testimonies are enacted in almost everything that Friendly Water does, all of the projects that it does. Biosand Filters has moved on now to something called Aqua Clara, which is it's a filter, it's a simpler filter, and I'm not going to go into the details of these things other than to just mention these projects. So there's that, and there's something called rocket stoves, which are great. I've actually participated in building biosand filters and rocket stoves. I have a biosand filter at my former farm because it's on a well, and in case the big one comes, I'll be happy to pull out the biosand filter. But there's that, and then there's soap that we're making. So the issues involve mainly water and hygiene. And my favorite project that's going on over there now, and has been, is water catchment tanks. They can hold, I think it's 20,000. Somebody can correct me. 20,000 liters of water, catching rainwater, so that in the monsoon season we don't lose all that runoff, because many of the countries in Africa and India, there's total desperation around water. Girls and women are primarily responsible for fetching water, and in some cases it takes 10 to 13 hours a day to walk the distances to fetch the water. I don't know, will there be any slides of that later? Yeah, okay, there'll be some slides that show some of this later. So water catchment area tanks are being used now, and we have permagardens that are being started and used. We have staff over in Kenya and Uganda, other places on the ground that are helping out as well. So I'm delighted to be part of that. I'll continue to be part of that as long as I can, and as long as it's still going. So I appreciate all of your presence. I hope you enjoy the rest of it, and enjoy your Kenyan lunch, and thanks very much for coming. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Dr. O'Shaughnessy. I have the pleasure of working with Kathleen each month on our board, at our board meetings. I also have the pleasure of meeting with Dave Henry. Dave Henry is simultaneously going to address this group and continue to operate the Zoom meeting. Look at that. Look at that. Dave has the absolute worst job on any board of directors. He's the board secretary. So he has to listen with one ear and write with the other ear. So Dave, please come on up and tell us about what Friendly Water does.
Hey, thank you, Danny. I've got this set up correctly. Let's see. Yes. So what I'd like to do is just take about, maybe 10 or 15 minutes and get you oriented to where we work, right? And I think you all know we work in Africa and we're currently focused on Kenya. And I want to give you that picture and then we're going to focus in really on the part of Kenya where we're doing most of our work. And hopefully this will set up the talk for Imali. Imali, where are you right now? Right there. So Imali's going to be giving us her story after lunch and this will help you kind of get some context. So this is a picture of Kenya and some of the surrounding countries. It's a very interesting place geographically. I think the most notable feature that I think of is the Great Rift Valley, which essentially splits the country in half. It has its own kind of story behind it, which I won't get into, but eventually we'll have two separate continents as this rift progresses. Probably the most important thing about the rift is the volcanoes that it spawns and has spawned over the last several million years. And so you've got at the bottom Mount Kilimanjaro, which is part of Tanzania. You've got Mount Kenya, and then you've got Mount Elgon, and that's just three of the kind of most commonly recognized mountains. What's significant about the rift is that it affects the water basins. So to the right of the rift, you have one basin, and to the left, you have another one. You have the Lake Victoria Basin, which is where we're going to be focused on. I think the other thing to recognize about Kenya is, although it's significantly a rural country and it's heavily used for agriculture, there are at least four major cities that constitute, let's say, 3/4 of the urban population. So you've got Nairobi, which everyone's familiar with, Meru, which is on the other side of Mount Kenya. You have Mombasa down at the bottom, and then you have Kisumu, which is in western Kenya, close to where we're working. There's always been a trend of young people moving to the city for economic opportunity. And one of the things we have as a goal for our organization is to help villages become more vital and to try to retain some of the interest in those people staying and working in their communities. And I think that's a testament to some of the work we're doing. And then finally, it seems like a very small patch where we're working. It's big when you get there, and it's right adjacent to Lake Victoria, you can see there. So if we zoom in on that, you can see that we've got two specific counties we're working with. We've got Kakamega County and we've got Vihiga. In Kakamega County, you're going to find that we have two towns, Matsaka and Kambiri. And then down in Vihiga County, we're starting to work and we have a territory called Vigulu, and then Karongo is your hometown, right, Imali? Yeah. So that'll kind of help you understand the area. Now, in terms of the water, it's important to understand that all household water essentially comes from rivers and tributaries. So on the northern edge of Kakamega County, you have the Zoya River. And then down here in Vihiga, you have the Yala River. And so it's those rivers and all of the tributaries that come off of them that really provide water for people for their daily use. And this presents some challenges, right? I think the one that Imali mentioned to me yesterday, which really stuck, is kind of like, your downstream is my upstream, right? So as people go to these rivers and they use them to retrieve water, necessarily there's a risk of contamination. And so this just aggregates as you go further downstream. there are significant issues with water quality in these rivers. You also have floods and droughts. You have climate change, as we know. The atmosphere is getting warmer. It holds more moisture. When it rains more intensively. The droughts are more intensive, and that has an impact on the availability of water, not just for household use, but for agriculture. And then finally, another challenge would be groundwater contamination, so mercury, lead, arsenic from various activities, including things like mining that have been going on for quite some time. So there's definite challenges to using rivers and streams for household water. And the impacts, right? I think the biggest impact we've seen, and this has been a priority since the founding of the organization, is trying to improve sanitation, clean water, right? For drinking, because if you don't have it, you're going to suffer from chronic diseases. And then I think the second impact, which we try to remediate, Kathleen mentioned the rainwater catchment tanks, is having a store of water that can be used for small-scale agriculture, so we're not completely dependent on the rain cycle. And then the final impact, which is really the focus of the rest of this, is fetching water. It's a huge burden on women and young girls, and it's a form of gender inequality that we're really trying to address. So let's take an example of that. So again, we're looking now, we've zoomed in. At the bottom, you can see we've got Matsaka, which is one of the towns where we work, one of the first towns we work. And then up at the top, you see the nearest river or tributary. And note the distance. The distance there, 1.38 miles if you walk along the A1. And if you're a mother or a young child who's been tasked to retrieve water, you're going to go up and you're going to come back carrying water. So it's almost 2 3/4 miles. And you're probably going to do that at least twice a day, maybe even 3 times a day. So this has a big impact on the women and the young girls in the community. And it's really our goal to ease that, to remove that burden when we can. So how do we do that? So we do that through a very disciplined process, which we've discovered over the years, starting with something we call appreciative inquiry. And if we have a chance, maybe later, Kurt, you can give a few comments about that process. Basically, going into these communities, helping them identify the assets they have and understand what they can do with those assets to improve their village. And then empowering them through training and through ideation and getting organized to form community-based organizations. And those CBOs are really at the heart of our programs. It's these communities that are then essentially taking advantage of the different technologies that Friendly Water offers. So you have 7 of them. Kathleen mentioned a few of them. The ones that we tend to find communities most interested in to bootstrap these programs are water security, which is rainwater catchment tanks, building better, which is something called interlocking soil stabilized bricks, good hygiene. Soap is quite important, and you can use soap when you have water, which is great. The water filtration, which is still important. And then I think, the permagardens down here, I would say those are the 5 that people focus on first, the villages focus on. And then they tend to focus after that, I think, on improved sanitation and safe cooking. So it's really up to the communities as to what they want to select. And the whole goal of Friendly Water is to get the communities engaged to actually provide the work, the labor, to implement these technologies in their communities. So here's Matsaka. And this is now kind of a Google Earth view, taking a look at it. These were the first tanks that I think we built, which were for the Matsaka Primary School and the Matsaka Secondary School. And you can see them really clearly in the satellite picture. What's important to note here is how close they are to the roofs of the school. So we capture the water from the roofs of the schools. They go into the gutters, and then from the gutters, they fill the tanks. So anytime it rains is an opportunity to add water to those tanks. And at Matsaka, we have, I believe, eliminated the long walk to water. The students have access to it, and you'll see here in a minute that these rainwater catchment tanks have kind of blossomed all over this local community. But before we get to that, let's take a look at, hello. There we go. Let's take a look real quick at just the process we go through. So this is the other thing that's important to understand is through trial and error, we've really found a way to make creating these and deploying these technologies repeatable. So design and permitting here is a key part. These are well-engineered structures that are improved by the local authorities for construction. The brick making through the ISSB press, and that uses materials that are sourced locally within the county, typically. The curing of bricks, because these are not, they're not fired bricks, they're dried outside, so they have to cure. Then the construction, and then the key part here is the inspection. So each one of these tanks is inspected and signed off not only by Friendly Water, but by our sponsors. So we have a complete documentation of the history of each tank. And then finally, the great part, which is the dedication. So what have we done? So this right now is just going to build out over an 18-month period and show you all of the different tanks that have been constructed in the last 18 months. So that each one of these tanks holds 25,000 liters of water. There have been 54 tanks that have been created, and this has been developed by the communities themselves. So, we have a small staff in Africa who's done the enablement, done the training, and the communities themselves have built out these tanks, which I think is pretty phenomenal accomplishment. So the takeaway here is we've got quite a bit of momentum. So just to wrap this up, I do want to call out, as a board member, I want to call out all of our staff at Friendly Water, 6 very dedicated individuals who have just about every set of talent we need in order to execute the program. So we've got Kurt Andino, Eric Lajodi, Heather Avery, Ezra Kigondu, Joyce Luganda, and then Leslie Lichko, who's just joined us. So this is a very small team that is getting all of this work done. I think it's a very efficient organization, and it's scaling. I think that's the important thing. So I will leave you with one more slide, which is, this is our plan. This is the I want to say backlog, but this is the set of sites that we've identified for future construction for rainwater catchment tanks. There are 47 additional rainwater catchment tanks planned in Kakamega County. That doesn't even include Vihiga County, where we're just now working with the community down there. So there's even more than 47 to potentially sponsors. So if you're interested in contributing to Friendly Water, these are where the bulk of the funds would go. They're going to go to maybe starting up new community-based organizations, purchasing interlocking soil stabilized bricks, the presses to make the bricks, and then the rainwater catchment tanks themselves. So one of the benefits of taking a very structured approach is we have a really good handle on the costs, on the accounting side of this. So hopefully that gives you some background. I appreciate everyone attending here and look forward to getting your feedback and talking with you throughout the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Well, it's 1 o'clock, and I know some of you are eager to hear from Imali Abala. But first, lunch. We're going to take about a 15, 20-minute break where the microphone will be silent mostly. And, pardon me? Let me introduce the board president, Connie Vasic.
Okay, sorry. I just thought it'd be easier if I just say what we're serving. We're plating the food now. We'll serve you at your table. We are having 2 kinds of rice. There's a beef rice and a vegetable rice, and I think a plain rice. There's vegetable curry. The vegetable curry is vegan, vegetarian, milk-free and gluten-free. And then there'll be chicken, masala chicken. And that does have some milk in it, but no gluten. And then there's peanuts and corn nuts, if you like. We have lots of them. There's water. There's chai and tea and coffee for those who would like it. Whatever, if you can get yourself or have someone. For dessert, we'll have cookies. There's a shortbread cookie as well as chocolate chip cookies, because even though it's not really eaten in Africa, somebody really wanted to have dessert, so we're having it. But we'll bring those out when we're toward the end. All right, so we're starting to serve now. And if you do have dietary restrictions, just tell somebody. And we have a lineup that'll bring you your food here shortly. If anybody needs to know if there's something in them, please come and talk to me, because I do know what's in everything. Because we made it. We had a big curry party. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Hamjambo. Hamjambo. Hatu Jumbo. Hamjambo. That's great. Okay. And now for the highlight of the afternoon, I'd like to introduce Dr. Imali Abala. Dr. Abala teaches English at... Something's funny about that? I bet if you wrote something and put it in front of her, she could mark it up. So Imali's on our board of directors, so I get to call her by her first name. And she came to the United States almost as a child back in the 1980s to go to college. And she stayed and got her bachelor's degree and eventually a master's degree. And then somewhere along the line, another master's degree and a PhD. She teaches English literature and writing at Ohio Dominican University. And she doesn't just teach it, she does it. She's published 17 books. You're supposed to, well, you haven't read them yet. I was waiting for someone who was in the laughing group to say only 17. The most recent two books came out last month, and I'll depend on my notes to tell you about them. One of them is called African Immigrants and the American Experience. And this book talks about Africans who've come to the United States in the past 30, 40 years and what their experiences have been. And I'm sure it's fascinating, and maybe I'll get my copy autographed next time I see you. The other book is called The Unforgotten. It's creative nonfiction based on her grandmother's life in Kenya. Her most well-known book might be Fragmented Lives, and it was about her experiences as a college student in the 1980s in America. As they say, without further ado, let me introduce Dr. Imali Abala.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, can you guys hear me? Yeah. Actually, I'm soft-spoken, so if you can't hear me, just shout out and I'll be able to amplify my voice. So I want to, first of all, begin by thanking you for coming here this afternoon. I know you have great things that you could have been doing now, but you decided to come and join us today for this special event where I talk about some of the major things that we at Friendly Waters are doing in Kenya. So just a second. So secondly, hello? Okay. Secondly, I'd like to take this opportunity. Danny, you have to help me here. Okay. All right. Hello? Okay. So secondly, I would like to actually take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the entire Friendly Water team for inviting me to come and share with you a few things about the invaluable work they have been doing in Western Kenya. And particularly, some of these things are those that, it's stuck. Okay. And I want to probably talk particularly about the invaluable work that we are doing in Kenya and the various projects that we have undertaken. Some of these projects are those that Kathleen mentioned earlier. And as you can see on the board, we have the brick making project. We also have water. We have soap and garden. These are some of the projects that they have or we have undertaken in Western Kenya. And I think of great value for me is to be able to come here and talk to you about women, right? Particularly how what we do, in fact, do impact women's lives every day. I want to be able to emphasize that these water tanks, as Dave had mentioned earlier, do help women. And in helping women, they actually end up centering them. And as we said, based on our talk for today, that women are the heart of the village. And I say that just not the heart of the village, they're also the cornerstone of the home. And so to be able to really talk about these women, I think it's important for me to kind of share with you a few things that would, or that I consider to be characteristic of the African woman. Okay. So before going into what Friendly Water does, let me tell you about this woman, because she upholds the flame of continuity and changes a homestead, and by extension, the village and nation. So to characterize this woman, I will be able to share with you 5 key reasons why I think she is the heart of the village. So 1, I characterize her as being selfless, strong, and bold. Number 2, she is the pillar of strength for family and society. Number 3, she toils daily, even with meager resources. Number 4, she is a hard worker and never tires, come day or night. Number 5, she is a leader and guiding light of her home and village, as I believe her spirit is not only resilient, but her heart is also pure. And to me, when we think about this woman, she is, in fact, the enduring soul of the village and one for whom all accolades are due. So before I can be able to go again more into some of this woman's life, allow me to just take you or give you a tour into her everyday life. Because I think here in the United States, there are a lot of things we take for granted. You know, specifically when we talk about water, and not only water, but just clean water. From where I come from, based on the map that they've shared with us, it's in the Western region and right close to the equator and not far from Lake Victoria. And so for us in this particular region, to be able to have clean water, I always say that it's actually something which is very rare, something we desire, but also not available to one. So to be able to get to this woman, I'm going to tell you a story about my mother. And I use my mother, and she's the woman right in the center here. That is my mother. And in understanding her daily routine, I believe you can be able to understand the daily routine most women in the part of the world where I come from have from morning maybe to sundown. So I would say, in thinking about my mother, she always woke up in the morning at dawn. whether she was sick or whether she was well, it really didn't matter because she had to wake up in the morning at that hour in order to go to the river to be able to get water, which she would therefore be able to use for her daily needs. And that was not all. In going to this river, again, falling back to what Dave had shared before, it could have taken her a mile from the home, one way to go to the river to fetch water, right? And then come back again, she would take another mile to come back home. Now, interestingly for her, she may have to make more than one trip to go to the river because she doesn't need just a gallon of water. She may need 2 or 3, and this water served her everyday needs. And as he reminded me here earlier on today, we always say that if you don't know anything, you have to check Dr. Google, right? So I decided, well, I know how long it takes me to walk 1 mile. But I thought, gee, if I wanted to know exactly how much time my mother devoted to this just one single resource, then I had to ask Dr. Google to tell me how long it takes an average person to walk 1 mile. Okay, Dr. Google told me it takes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. It depends on how fast you walk or why you are going wherever you are going. So if you kind of picture this woman taking this journey maybe 2 or 3 times, just one trip may take her anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes, right? Okay, and that would mean if you have to kind of do the math, she has to take 3 trips to go to the river and back. Well, how much time would it take her to do that? And you'll hear me talking about the issue of time. So that's one thing that this woman has to do. Number 2, this woman, when she comes from the river, she still has other things to do. And among these other things, she has to make sure that the children are fed before they can go to school, right? And that would mean that she has to start a fire. And of course, starting this fire, we are using firewood, not gas, not electric. And so therefore, it's also another daunting kind of task that this mother has to endure. And then the third thing, and really, which I consider to be the most important thing, that she has to be able to mend broken wounds. And any mother who is here would tell you, if you have a kid who has a punctured wound, the first thing you are going to do, you are going to look for Band-Aid, right? So she has to kind of ensure that she does that. And that's not all. She has to also ensure that she's instilling in these kids cultural values that are then going to make the child, boy or girl, to become a good citizen for the world. So, and an interesting thing too, while this woman, my mother, is doing this, whether she's going to the river or not, she is carrying her baby on her back. Okay, most African women do that too, or they may use the kanga or the cloth you have on your table to wrap the kid on the back in order for her to be able to do everything that she has to do. And on top of that, she has a jerrycan too on her head in order to do everything that she has to do. So therefore, when you think about this woman, then you can actually be able to see that she is truly the heart of the village. And I say that really you don't have to take my word for it. You have to almost think about Our Lady here, Tabitha Msonye, who then had the following to say, especially in contextualizing everything that Friendly Waters has to say. And I quote from what she shared with us. She says, I am overjoyed and intrigued by the work that we are doing and aware that service to humanity is service to God. before we had many challenges with having access to water, especially while working in the yard. It was costly and time-consuming because we had to hire a motorbike to ferry water from either a neighbor's well or the stream. The water tank we now have is a privilege to the group and the community around us. Now, Tabitha, that you see on the screen, to me, is a leader in her community. She inspires hope to all of us who are women based on some of the work that she is doing for us. And therefore, she is the heart of Kambiri village. And like many others who work alongside her, make a difference in her village daily. So to explore more into this issue of a woman being the heart of the village, allow me to share with you my personal story as a woman. Okay, I'm standing here as an ambassador of Kerongo village. And I would say most importantly, not just Kerongo village, but all those women from Western Kenya for whom, through your generous donations, their life and those of their family have been forever changed. Growing up years ago in this rural community, I could have actually benefited from some of the resources that Friendly Water is making available to all the young women in their respective communities, whether we are talking about Matsaha, whether we are talking about Kambiri, or whether we are going to be talking about Kerongo village. Now, you see, when I was growing up, I was one of those kids who would go with my mother from when I was really young to the river to actually fetch water, right? And this was before I had an opportunity to even go to school. And then at the end of the day, when I returned home from school, I would go to the river again to kind of just say I'm assisting my mother. So if she didn't have enough water, that I'm drawing this water in order to help her. Now, another interesting thing, let's say if you are talking about the dawn trip to the river, or even in the evening, we would go to that river, capture our water, or draw water from the river. And then after we do that, we set it aside. And then we would bathe in the same river. And then after that, take our bucket or pot and head on home. Now, the thing was, when we were doing all these things, I don't think it never occurred to me in bathing in that river, I was actually contaminating the river for someone who was going to draw water from the same river downstream. Now, another thing that I didn't know, I'm sure that there were other young kids like me, or even adults, who are doing the same thing I was doing when I was at the riverside. And so even me, as I was drawing this river, this water from the river, that it too was contaminated. And I think that is what Friendly Water is trying to do to ensure that most women and girls don't end up drawing water from a contaminated water source. Now, as I said earlier, I'm standing here as the ambassador of my Kerongo village. So to continue along this story, I did embrace this idea of being the ambassador of my community around 2019. This was during the COVID era. And I went to Kenya for a visit, as I routinely did or do. And I didn't mean to change that. I was horrified to actually see young girls going to the river to fetch water when they were in school. And so it reminded me, it was actually heartbreaking because it reminded me of the many times I had been on the same journey the girls you see in green, actually, in green uniform doing. And I asked them if I could go with them to the river so I could be able to see exactly where they were getting the water. And of course, as you can see, it doesn't really look like it's a very clean water source for anybody to drink, let alone to use the water for cooking. And so I felt their pain, or should I say, I felt the injustice of their moment. And to me, this particular image, when I remember my past, is still frozen on my mind. And I also then, later on, maybe a year after this, when I came on board with Friendly Water, I learned of a story of a young woman by the name Micho Nekesa. And this woman, or this young woman, is a head girl at Namanja School. And she equally talked about the daunting task she had to endure, especially in being able to go and tell young girls that you need to go to the river to fetch water for the school. And so this is what she had to say. I think hearing the young girl talking about her experience of being able to remove girls from the classroom to go to the river is one of the most powerful one I've had. So I quote, this is what she had to say. One of my toughest duties was ensuring that water was in the school. My role was to mobilize other pupils to fetch water. This duty led me to make many enemies than friends, which extended to my parents. I'm very happy for these rainwater catchment tanks because they are going to lessen my task. At least now I can start having friends. And I kind of think about that, you know, just being a young kid and being able to know you can't have friends because you have to make them leave their classroom to go and fetch water speaks volumes in my book. So for me, when Friendly Water went to her school and constructed this water tank, I see their work there being the kind of work that impacts a girl's life. Now Micho can focus on one thing that matters in her life, and that is her education, instead of really being focused on the idea, oh my gosh, I don't have a friend today, right? Oh my gosh, my friends are going to stone me when I'm heading back home. So just being able to devote time to that, to me, speaks volumes. Okay, so there is this African where here, when we give this girl an opportunity to have water in the classroom, I say, time saved is time earned. You see, if you look at this girl, the one at the bottom here, when you contribute to Friendly Water, what you are going to be able to do is to actually give this girl an opportunity for studying. When she is removed from the classroom, she takes time away from being able to focus on her education. Now, another interesting thing too, like teachers, they don't really consider that this girl has been removed from the classroom, so therefore they need to suspend what they are teaching until the young woman comes back. Well, that's not what happens. So what does happen, the teachers continue to teach while these girls have gone to the river. And again, if you remember what Dave said before, if they're going to be walking for a mile and a half or more to go to the river one way, by the time they're coming back, they're also tired. And of course, maybe a class period has ended and the teacher has moved on to something else. And for me, when you consider that, then you realize that the outcome of this lack of instruction within the classroom takes away important instructional information the young woman should have, right? So when they go to eventually take the national exam, in Kenya we have national exams, maybe some of the information that the teacher may have covered maybe on the test, and because she wasn't there, of course, she may not succeed in her studies. So which would mean she fails her exam. It's not like here in the US where you can be able to say that if you don't pass an exam, you can retake the class and be able to continue on. In Kenya, if you fail an exam, you have to repeat an entire year. And that would mean most parents may not be inclined to say, let's make this girl have another year of school. So eventually she ends up getting married, right? Becoming a mother. And I'm not saying that being a mother is a bad thing. I'm simply saying that she becomes a mother without having been equipped to actually deal with life challenges, right? So, and in thinking about that, then you can be able to kind of see what Friendly Waters is doing is actually giving this young woman time that she truly, truly needs to be able to invest in her classroom, to be able to excel in school, to be able to eventually end up having a job. So in the next slide here, I kind of go back into this idea of not very good with this thing. Stuck on my clicker, Dave, here. Okay. Oh, gee. All right. So what I then really want to emphasize is that if we think about this African proverb, I think most of you may have heard about it, right? The proverb that says that if you invest in a man, no offense, guys, you invest in an individual, but if you invest in a woman, what are you doing? You are uplifting a nation. Thank you, sir. Right? So we want to invest in these women so that they can be able to succeed. So for you guys who have been really the strongest supporter for Friendly Water, when you give this girl an opportunity to be in school, you are actually giving her that invaluable time that she deserves for her studies. And when you do that, you benefit her and you also benefit her family and her village. Now, what does happen then with her having an education, she can get a job, earn a salary, then feed her family and community. And then in the end, she in turn becomes the heart of her village, which she ought to be and will cherish. And so I am really standing here before you to really affirm that for me, as it pertains to my Kerongo village, I see myself as that girl. That someone took a chance in me, gave me the opportunity to come and go to school, and here I am speaking on their behalf, that if you do really invest in them, in these girls, that you are actually going to be saving more than just an individual. And I would say that really you don't have to actually take my word to be gospel truth, right? When we were in Kenya, we had the opportunity of meeting Madam Grace Lynette Baraza. And when we were there, she spoke about the invaluable impact Friendly Water is making in her community. So I just wanted you to kind of listen to her, hear what she has to say regarding the invaluable work that we are making in her respective community. So this is Lynette Baraza.
I am the head teacher of
Volume.
Victory Academy, Kambiri, a neighbor to Mr. Eric Lungaho, who is the chairman of Friendly Water project. So I came to know about this project through him.
Well, there is an audio, and she actually talks about some of them. Okay, sorry, because I think it would be very profound for you to listen to Lynette really talking about the kind of contribution we are making in her community. And I have to say, if you look closely at the water tank that she is photographed against, was a tank which was built in dedication of our very own Kat. So here she is talking about Kat's brother, sorry.
My names are Madam Grace Lynette Baraza. I am the head teacher of Victory Academy, Kambiri, a neighbor to Mr. Eric Lungaho, who is the chairman of Friendly Water project. So I came to know about this project through him. Because occasionally we could have issues with water, and he came in strongly for us. Okay, first of all, we helped him a lot. As our neighbor, he used to fetch water in our school, and then we became very close, and we shared about this thing. He shared this issue of a Friendly Water project with me. The project was able to be launched in our school. Initially, we had a problem. We had a lot of challenge, whereby our main water is from the borehole. It's only one. It gave us a lot of issues, whereby all the neighbors around were to come and fetch water from the school. So occasionally, sometimes we could stop some of them during classroom hours, so that they don't interfere with the programs of the school. And the women around, I think they did not feel very good, because water is very essential in our homes. So waiting for those long hours to come and fetch water after the school hours, I think it gave women a lot of challenges. And therefore, I want to appreciate the Friendly Water, because when they brought up the idea of building tanks for us, because for us they gave us two, it saved a lot of most women were saved, because now they have time, they have a humble time, they come, they fetch water anytime, they don't interfere with our school programs. And as a school also, I am very happy, because most of our learners, we were lacking water. Actually, our well could go dry occasionally, especially during the dry spell. But since we got this Friendly Water thing, it really saved us a lot. And nowadays we have water 24/7. The children are very happy. enjoy the water so much. The women around are also very happy. I, as a woman, I'm also happy because I also come to fetch water from the school. Before then, I could come and find that very many people are crowded on our well. But now, since we got these tanks, I think there is a lot of space. People fetch water conveniently, and personally, I have also gained from that. So I'm very happy about this water issue. It has really saved life. On our compound, we have a church called Ushindi Life Outreach Ministries, and sometimes we hold women's conference here, and the women they like comfort. So we have a minimum space, and we don't have modern toilets. So I was requesting that, if possible, friendly water. I said thank you for the tanks, but if you can just consider us and provide us with modern toilets. So that when we have women meetings in this place, our women can be more comfortable. And also our children around. We are a mixed school of both boys and girls. They also need comfortable latrines. So my request is kindly, if you can consider this and provide us with modern toilets, we shall really appreciate you people. Thank you.
Okay, as you can tell from what Madam Baraza has said, Friendly Water's impact in her school has been great and continues to be so. Now, when we were in Kenya in summer, we had the same message in virtually all the schools that we visited. And there are some people here like Cheryl and Connie and Adriana who went with me to visit these schools, and they can be able to actually attest to the same message that we had a similar theme kind of going on, illustrating how the work we do there is of great value, more so than you can imagine as you are sitting here enjoying your lunch. We also had similar sentiments when we were at a community engagement meeting in Kambiri. We heard of people talking about employment opportunities that have become available to them, stemming from either brick or soap making, which beforehand was not available to some of these individuals we work with. And I say that such milestones are enormous, particularly to folks who might not otherwise have received any kind of employment whatsoever, and therefore struggled in their everyday living. And so therefore, to kind of illustrate maybe the kind of relationship that I see existing with us here in this room and those people that we serve in Kenya, specifically in Western Kenya, I want to kind of fall back onto Zulu philosophy. And this philosophy is called Ubuntu. Okay? And the philosophy of Ubuntu roughly means humanity towards others. And so therefore, Kat, where are you? Okay, so let's have Kat have a seat somewhere here. So I want to kind of illustrate this idea of the Ubuntu spirit. And you see, I want to kind of focus on this brick, right? So you are looking at this brick, and from where you are actually sitting, you are just saying, this brick is just a brick, right? But to me, I see this brick as not just being a brick. It's an extraordinary brick. This brick is a representative of the woman that you see right there, right? So if we kind of apply the philosophy of Ubuntu, It goes like this. I am. Because. Let me hear that again. I am. Because. We are. Right. So I am because we are. And that brick, to me, is the metaphor of that woman. Right? She is because we are. So when I give Kat, and Kat decided to sit way back there, right? So I'm giving Kat $20, right? And the $20 I've given Kat, I'm giving him so he can be able to kind of invest that $20 in a brick like the one that you see on the slide, right? So I've given Kat $20, but Kat can't do anything with my $20, right? Kat needs someone in Kenya to be able to use that $20 in order to influence that woman's life. So who do we have? Eric, right? We have Ezra. So Kat is going to take the $20 bill, send it to Eric and Ezra, and tell Eric and Ezra, hey, you know, we want to make bricks, right? And so Ezra is going to begin, and Eric, the process of making a brick. And he's going to realize, oh my gosh, my masons have to eat. So how do we get the masons to eat? He's going to be able to say, let me hire Monica, and Monica is actually going to be able to make lunch for the men who are making the brick, which is going to make a water tank, right? Okay, Monica is going to get the money that Friendly Water through Eric are paying her to feed the mason, okay? So her salary, she's going to be a wise woman. You know, women are wise. She's going to use this money that she has received from her salary by making lunch for the mason to buy land, right? Okay. She's going to use this land, as you can see there, to say, now I have land. What do I do with this thing? Right? Remember, we have said Friendly Water has built tanks for her. So she has now time. She doesn't have to walk for hours getting water. Now she can invest her time on working on her garden, right? And then she has time too. She remembers, okay, this group, Kat, you can sit down. Where this group has been talking about this thing, Perma Gardens, right? What do I know about Perma Gardens? So she's going to take the time, work on the garden, be able to get the vegetables she grows on this garden. She's going to sell some of the vegetables, and in so doing, she's doing what? Feeding her community, right? Okay. She's going to have maybe more money left. That money she's going to invest in her children's education, right? So we began with just $20. You see how far it has gone. Children are therefore going to go to school, and they're going to become literate, and they too are going to eventually become productive members of society. So therefore, I say that my $20 bill has actually, in a sense, empowered one woman and maybe multiple other women. I'm just using one woman here. And as we know, if we have a literate society, we are in a sense happy. You know, we don't want to have people or a society that is filled with ignorant people. So we are empowering communities with the meager donations or great donations that we are making. And so therefore, if we go back to the spirit of Ubuntu, that our support for these women, as you can see, is great. And it becomes one of the things that I would say as a metaphor, or maybe an analogy, I don't know which word is correct here, that you are the tree that keeps giving, right? You are the tree that keeps giving in the spirit of Ubuntu. So we come back to the brick. That's a fantastic, maybe brick, a marvelous brick, right? Like the kind, if you are a Harry Potter fan, a magical kind of brick that inspires and influences many people's lives. Okay, so I'm almost finished here, that we can be able to say we are not just talking about bricks, right? We are also talking about issues of health and clean water. So besides empowering women in the spirit of Ubuntu, the well-being of these communities is also paramount. And as we all know, having clean water, in my view, should be a fundamental right to all people, not a luxury. And I think for most people from where I come from, it may very well be a luxury. So because of the tanks-friendly water constructs in communities, parents no longer worry about their children falling ill or dying because they are drinking contaminated water. And as I noted earlier, my mother believed going to the river at dawn was a good thing, but yet I believe now she was wrong. And as you can see from the slide I have there, one of the ladies from one of our schools, her name is Pamela De Messi. She is a teacher and current board chair of Magale Primary School, and she reflected on a tragic incident that happened in her school. And this is what she had to say. We lost a pupil from water-related diseases, which almost caused closure of the school. This is why when you or I invest resources to support a clean water initiative in a community, you in turn become a lifesaver. So I commend Friendly Water for taking on this challenge, and I also commend you for actually being here and listening to me talking about this. I know all this work cannot succeed without your selfless benefactors like you. And I would say, as I think Kathleen mentioned earlier, and also on my second slide, we have other technologies that Friendly Water has introduced to some of these communities that have been pretty much invaluable. So soap making, permagarden, something also that I think Kathleen didn't talk about that I would mention is the idea of table banking. So therefore, for me, it's clear that Friendly Water is truly changing lives, one project at a time. And I say together in the spirit of Ubuntu, we can do great things by empowering women socially, economically, and politically, so they can continue to serve as the heart of their communities. So to kind of summarize all that I've said, bear with me here for a second, right? When a woman has easy access to water, she gains a much needed asset. And that asset to me is time. Not just having clean water, but having time. With time, she can invest in her family. Number two, with time, she can invest in herself and community, be present, be empowered, and also a formidable force. Friendly Water is giving her this much needed time. Secondly, a water tank in a school is an investment in a young girl's life who will become the bedrock and heart of her village, just as I believe I am for my village. And in so doing, empowering her in every facet of her life, academically, economically, and socially. So, to kind of conclude this, I would like to leave you with a video message from one of our ladies who is the heart of the Kambiri village and is empowered again in the spirit of Ubuntu because you You are. Okay, I was hoping you guys will say that. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you, Friendly Water, for doing what you do best, improving lives one brick at a time. And I would be remiss if I failed to say thank you to Eric Rijodi and his team, Joy and Ezra, for effecting these projects in all of our communities, because I strongly believe without these three individuals, nothing that Kat can do in the United States and his team can come to fruition. So thank you very much. And let's just listen to Marciana as she tells her story.
My name's Merciana Masharia. I'm married. A mother of six and grandchildren. In this community, I was elected from village elders. The time Friendly Water came, I was very happy. I joined the crew. I gained knowledge of soap production, bricks production, pamakatan, tanks construction, and also improved toilets, sanitation. In the crew, I'm the treasurer of Kambiri Community Development Group. I'm the one who keeps the records and also the expenditure, even the people to get salary. I also they get in time. In the crew, what a man can do, even a woman can do. In the community, we have empowered women to make bricks. Even buildings of the tanks. Pamakandra, we have empowered women to plant vegetables, carrots, and so on. At the end of the day, they get something at least to eat. So around our community, people have got jobs. When we make bricks, we employ people. Constructions of the tanks, also people work there. So in our community also we have introduced teamwork. People have been working together. We appreciate. They were friendly. What
is that she does appreciate the group and what it does in uplifting communities daily. And I couldn't have said it better than she did. So, any questions? I should have ended by saying women are the heart of the village.
Thank you very much, Imali. I'm sure we all learned a lot about what life is like in Kenya, and I appreciate your telling us about your story. At this time, there's supposed to be 9 board members running toward the front of the room to each give us 30 seconds to talk about why you serve with Friendly Water. And looks like we don't have to wait long for David Albert, who's co-founder of the organization.
Thank you all for coming. I am humbled by the opportunity you have given me over the 17 years that I've been involved with Friendly Water to try to understand what is my right relationship with people around the world. Really, it's all about relationships. That's really what it's all about. And you know, you read the news like I do, and it makes us feel hopeless and disempowered, and we don't know what to do. And when you don't know what to do, the best thing to do is to grab a friend. And you have allowed me the privilege of having friends all around the world, people like those you've met today. And I invite you all to do the same. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Connie Vasek, and I am the current chair, and I'm also the cook. So I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank everybody who helped me with putting this on. Obviously you have a whole team, but I want to be very thankful for everybody who helped, because it did take a lot of people to do this, and it made it kind of fun. So I appreciate all of you for that. I'm in Friendly Water because I think it's important, because in my life I was given a lot of things that I really didn't deserve or should maybe have gotten, but people did help me out and allow me to go forward. So I thank you very much, and I'm going to pass the microphone.
Quig Davis, I've been on the board for a little bit less than a year, so being junior, they said that's all you get to say. But thank you for showing up today. I appreciate it.
I am Cheryl D'Angelo Gary. I've been hanging around with Friendly Water for about a year now, and what I love about them is that instead of just throwing money at a village, which tends to end up with the leaders, they actually go in and talk to the people about what they need. They leave people with jobs, with real employment. It's phenomenal. It's beautiful. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Good afternoon again. My name is Imali, and I also am a newbie on the board. I've been with the group for almost now a year or going to a year, and I couldn't have been happier being part of this incredible team that I know is actually doing a lot for our communities, my community, and so I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to me. And I look forward to hearing from you some more. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. My name is Denny Kautzman, and I've been on the board for several years. I don't recall the number. I think it was somewhere around, 6 years ago, maybe. And I've been a volunteer with Friendly Water for several years before that. I currently serve as the treasurer. And I have to tell you that it is just an amazing thing to be able to bring together the resources that you all are providing in making these significant differences in the lives of our friends overseas. Thank you.
Well, a quick introduction again. I'm on the board because I'm a pragmatist and I like to see things happen and help to make things happen. And so it's kind of a boots on the ground, hands on the dirt, in the dirt approach. And Friendly Water, the funds that go to Friendly Water to help go directly. And you can see some of the results of that. And we see those results immediately. Once we send the money, the projects happen, they get done, and we hear back. And so that's wonderful. That's what keeps me going with it. Thank you.
All right. Again, Dave Henry here. I've been on the board for about 5 years now. And I think the thing that stands out to me about Friendly Water is that people are willing to learn. People are willing to look and listen and engage. And that's been key to everything that's been accomplished coming out of COVID in particular. So I just want to thank you all, many longtime supporters that are here. You make it totally possible. And we welcome everyone to continue to stay involved and join our meetings and learn more. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Again, Danny Stusser. I've been on the board for about 5 years. And during those 5 years, we've learned a lot about how to make things work in Africa. I'll tell you a little secret. Not every organization that works in Africa is successful in getting its projects taken care of. There's lots of ways to get ripped off in Africa. We're not getting ripped off. We're making our projects happen. And that makes me proud to be part of Friendly Water for the World. And now I get to introduce the man who made sure that what I said is true, Kurt Andino. He's the executive director of Friendly Water for the World. And he's got a couple things to tell us. Come on up.
Thank you, everybody. It has been a long time since we've been doing something like this. It was 2019 is the last time we were able to get together, and look at everybody who showed up. I mean, this is fantastic. Thank you so very, very much. Now, we've spent the last, hour or so talking about how women are the heart of the village, and we're talking about villages like Masaha, Kambiri, Ivakale, Bolovi, Magali, Shandarima. Those are all some of the sublocations we work in. There's 41 total villages included in that. Women are, in fact, the heart of that village, but women are also the heart of this village and this gathering today. And because of that, I really want to take a moment here, and I'm sorry I had to write it down, but a huge debt of thanks to Lori Davis, Eileen, Bunny, Kate, Andrea, Mary, Ann, Cheryl, Helen, Imali, Connie, Leslie, Adrienne, and Cheryl. Thank you so very, very much for doing this for us. So Friendly Water for the World, we have 7 programs, we have 2 processes. The 7 programs are the things that you've heard all about today. How we make life better for people who are lacking essential resources, people who need more time in their day, people who want to see their daughters get educated, people who want to have a roof over their house, people who don't want to spend all their money in the hospital, people who have ambitions, ideas, thoughts, dreams, hopes, and we want to make those things happen. We have the privilege of being able to make those things happen. This is fantastic. The work that we do, as Danny just said, seldom gets done when the money actually gets to Africa. We have a good friend of ours here today right now representing Rotary clubs, Dustin Wilson, in the middle of the room. Rotary here in Thurston County gave us $11,000 on September 30th to build 5 rainwater catchment tanks. That's 125,000 liters. And people are going to say, wow, that money's got to go all the way over to Africa, and then you got to find people who are going to do this, and then you have to get the plans done, and then you have to think about who's going to do it again, and then we have to order the stuff. Okay, long story short, we finished all 5 tanks yesterday. We have a staff of 6, we have a board of 9. We are small, but we are mighty. We get the job done, we get the work done. You have trust in us, we have trust in the people that we work with over there. We go over there and we watch what they do. We see what they do. We understand their challenges. We begin the work that we do with something called community engagement. This happens a year to 18 months before we even put a shovel in the ground. We want to get to know you. We want to talk to you. We want to find out what your hopes, your dreams, your desires are. We want to figure out what's holding your village back, and we want to be able to resolve that together. We do that together. We do that slowly. We build trust. We build confidence. We learn about the folks. They become our friends. When you have friends, anything is possible. It's easy for me to try to do something hard, but it's going to take me a long time. But if I want to get it done quickly, and I have 10 friends, well, then we get it done quickly. Have you ever tried to move by yourself? I mean, I'm 59 years old, so it's been a long time since I last moved, but I do remember back in my 20s moving every couple of years, and I would have to get all my friends together in order to help me move. And there were some times that I didn't have all my friends together, and I had to move by myself. And that was a long journey. That was a long journey. We are all here because we want to have impact. We want to make impact, and we want to make impact that we can see ourselves. And that's what we offer. We offer the opportunity for people over here who have concerns about people over there, knowing that they are the same as us. They are our sisters, they are our brothers. There is very, very little difference between them and us other than financial resources. So we were able to muster those financial resources. We were able to meet that village. We were able to understand their challenges. We were able to understand how to make things better for them. And it is our commitment as one people on one planet to make those things happen. The work that we do is an absolute joy and an absolute pleasure. The people that we get to meet is what makes it worthwhile. The fact that we get to impart life-saving devices and technologies to make their lives better is the icing on the cake. But what it is all really about, as David said, is it's making friends. It's making friends and holding them close, even if they're 15,000 kilometers away. And that's our commitment to you. That's our commitment to the people in Africa. We do that every day. We do that every hour. We have a pleasure and a joy in doing it. It fills our hearts. Thank you so much for coming out here today.
Are we done? Almost. There's not a lot of paperwork on the table, but there are two things you should look at. One is the program for today, because on the back page of the program is a little form that, if you're feeling motivated, we hope you'll fill out and contribute to the work of Friendly Water. If you're a super modern person, then you might want to scan the code on the back of this card on your table. It's on the front and the back. And this will bring you directly to our highly secure donation portal, I think the buzzword is. So with those words, I'd like to thank you again for being here. And those of us on the board, Imali, Dave, we'll be here for a few minutes, and if you have any questions, we hope you'll come and ask us.
If anybody has a question they think the whole audience would like to hear, please ask it now. Otherwise, as Danny just said, you can come up to us individually. But I know that we're running a little bit late, and I want to be respectful of people's time. So up to you. Thank you so very much.